Hi, everybody. I'm just moving around my house so you don't have to look at my horrific bookshelves all the time. And if you hear any swishing sounds, that's the beautiful sound of my snow pants clad legs rubbing against one another because I'm not smart enough to move away from a place where every winter is like living on a moon colony. So I'm wearing my après-ski outfit around the house as one does, and just trying to stay alive on a Friday afternoon. And so about the topic of the video, this is going to be a totally ridiculous video, but it's going to include a serious question, and it came out of thinking about an earnest video, which I still may make. Depends on what people in the audience say. What brought about the question was me noticing that I have all kinds of ends. People. I'm an ENFP. I have a life that's really, really almost wall to wall populated with NTs and NFs. Those 8 types that comprise that have the so-called intuitive information gathering preference within the Myers-Briggs temperament indicator. Those 8 types, half the types, they comprise about a third of the general population in total. So many of them can find themselves in life circumstances where they're the only ones, or they feel themselves and know themselves to be very much in the minority, and that's especially true of the INs and the ENJs. But the ENJs, they get around. They're very social. They need to go out and interact in order to get their batteries charged again. So they're kind of out and about. But still, sometimes N's can be quite isolated, and occasionally S's too, I'm sure. Although that would be much more rare a circumstance. So I noticed that my life and my associates' lives are filled. Their N's and their lives are also filled with other N's, not exclusively, but a lot of them. They found each other. And then I'm contrasting that, I'm noticing a contrast between that and a lot of people who are interacting online in these MBTI forums, who feel themselves to be a bit, maybe a bit lonely or a bit out of it or a bit left out for being of that information gathering preference. And it occurred to me that maybe it would be, I don't know if this is the dumbest idea I've had or what, but if people would like to know what venues there are where you are pretty much guaranteed to find a much greater than average number of people with the N information gathering preference. I definitely can tell you a lot of places where I know you're going to find more of them. But the thing is, I don't know if that's worth saying, because I don't know, is this something that everybody knows? Is that just common? Is that just really obvious? I'm not sure. It might be really obvious. I don't know. So if you think that's a dumb idea and I shouldn't make a video, please say. And if you think that, if you're like, oh no, that could be interesting, that could be useful to somebody, then please say that too. So anyway, I got to thinking, and I don't know, I'm feeling very cynical today, I guess. So I got to thinking about what's behind my sort of behind my picking of venues, and like what are the underlying principles for places where you're likely to find a greater than usual preponderance of people of a particular Kiersey quad. The Kiersey quads are the groups of 4 of the MBTI types apiece, and they are the SP artisans, the SJ guardians, the NT rationals, and the NF idealists. And each group of 4 has, although each type within the 4 per 4 groups are very distinct from one another, they all do also have a lot of some general characteristics in common. So I was thinking about here's some fairly obnoxious rules of thumb for what to think about what's behind venues where people of a particular quad are going to show up in great numbers. And I should be serious before I say all these obnoxious things. I should say that that it really, really is true that people of any type can show up anywhere doing any job in any strata of society, in any milieu. It really is the case. The MBTI is all about temperament, and the Jungian typology upon which it is based is also concerned with temperament. But people go against, what they prefer to do all the time. All the time, all the time, all the time. And there are plenty of people who, yes, are maybe more rare in a given milieu for their temperamental leanings. There aren't as many people like them in that milieu, but that doesn't mean that they can't participate in that just as fully as everybody else in that milieu, or that they aren't as competent at the tasks that are associated with that, or that they're not also quite happy and content to be in there and to be the oddballs in such and such a group, temperamentally speaking, because yeah, people have lots of reasons for doing all the many different things they do. People are complicated. And there are all kinds of incentives I can think of for kind of rising to the occasion of being really committed and involved and long term in all sorts of occupations and activities that aren't, don't come totally naturally to you. And those are it would make sense. Those are some of the most interesting. I think they are, actually, when I think about it. It's very character building to do, let alone skills building, to do something like that, right? To be the odd one out, but to pursue something vigorously and long term and with dedication, and to acquire skill in an area where you're kind of a stranger in whatever milieu that is. Those people are, I think, invariably quite interesting, because they just see more than most of the rest of us who stick with their own kind. So, all right. So that said, all that reasonableness aside, I'm going to launch into some stereotyping. Because you know what? Here's the thing. I just feel like being silly. And because and also because very often there's a little bit of truth in a stereotype. There's a little bit, just a little tiny salt of truth in there. So, yes. And what I'm about to say is totally true. I can vouch for this. I'm going to talk about the NFs and the NTs, and I have NFs and NTs all over the place in my life. So this is very true, I can say. All right. So wherever people are in society, wherever people are working really long and hard on making, seeing, or thinking about beautiful things, or are working tirelessly and maybe often uselessly trying to obtain fairness for underdogs. And this is very important. This is key. And are making absolutely no money while doing so. In fact, it's better if you're losing money doing it. And quite often on causes that don't have don't have a snowball's hope in hell of being accomplished as envisioned, but people are working their asses off for it nonetheless, and with a great deal of passion. Any place about which those things can be said is a place where you are going to find a motherlode of NF idealists. Now, wherever you're going to find people doing everything that they can to have minimal contact in meat space with other human beings, are going to have minimal discussion of anything having to do with anybody's feelings. I think of my and maximal discussion of arcane and intellectual topics that nobody else gives a damn about. That is where you're definitely going to find a greater than usual whack of NTs, the rationals. And what comes to mind is my INTP brother's a quote from him when a career counseling acquaintance was running through jobs that might suit him temperamentally and might not. And when a corporate trainer was run by him, he said, I can't think of anything I'd less like to do than lead a bunch of lawyers through a group hug. So there you go. Next, anywhere where there's an abundance of Jello shots, liberal use of the term bro, a ready willingness to lend a hand in any sense of the word, and people who think skydiving is no big deal because, who hasn't done that? you are going to find a hell of a lot of SPs. And anywhere you find large groups of people advancing the cause of returning to a bygone era that everybody else is really happy is gone, worrying themselves into an early grave about things that are never going to happen, picking up your mess, you ungrateful leech, or polishing Royal Dalton figurines, you are going to find a greater than usual number of the SJ Guardians. So I'll leave you with that, those words of wisdom, and and let me know if you want me to make the real video on this subject, because it will be about the ends. I can't speak as much, and I don't think I should for the censors, because I'm not as familiar with them. But I'll give it a shot. I'll tell you what I do know, the little I do know, if anybody wants to hear it. And I actually think more of my commentators will have better information on that to write in the comments under such a video. People who have more life experience with the SPs and the SJs than I do. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.